It's showtime. Hello, guys. Finally, getting to the end of my Alien vs Predator survival movie concept. Hopefully, I should get through this today. But I've got 5 pages to get through. It's probably the longest one, but this being kind of like the third, or near like the end of the third act, I tried to add a lot more detail to make it a bit more exciting. So I'm hoping to get through it within an hour and a half. But I've also got some more sketches. I've done some more sketches so you can probably see what I see, get a better idea of what I see. So how many people are here? 3 people. Woohoo! That's all right. People can watch this after. This is why I've done these, because they're just here now for anyone to watch whenever they want. Hopefully it'll spark some interest by the right people, but we're going to see how this goes. So I'm going to go straight into it now. No messing. So here we go. Right, left you on a bit of a cliffhanger last time, where the Yautja that we follow has climbed up from the hive that's underground. So he's managed to climb up to the top, well, surface level, and he's now been surrounded. He's been surrounded by the xenomorph. And that's when I left it. So this was the image I left you with. So I left you with this. This is where he's surrounded. So I left you at this. So I thought, I'll leave it there. And then hopefully in the third one, the third part, I'll be able to get through it. So it's only going to be a small horde, but it's going to be enough to know that he's there. And they're going to obviously attack him. But the idea here is he's on a really fragile ground. So the xenomorphs don't want to obviously fall because it's very fragile. So the predator's like really gingerly walking across this ground. There's pockets of these fragile grounds everywhere. And he looks over to one side where the ship is, and there's like a massive gorge, and then what we see is it's very wide. We won't be able to make it in a vehicle, so the predator's thinking, well, if I've got to try and escape this, I'm going to have to jump the gorge. So the gorge would be more. There's like a massive wall in front of him, so he'd be able to jump and then latch onto a wall, and then he's got to climb the wall. So this is the image I have in my mind. So he now has to try and make his way on the fragile ground as he's being stalked by all of these xenomorphs. Now some of them get a bit cocky and then they jump after him. So of course the predator like moves, and then the alien would break through the floor, and then the predator would have to move because the floor is very fragile. Some of them would try to walk across it, and then they would attack him. The one would attack him with his tail, and then the predator would grab it and then literally just swing him around and knock a few xenomorph off with him. So he's making his way to like a hard ground, which would then give him enough of a run up to then potentially jump the gorge. So he's trying to fight off all these xenomorphs. And if I can go to the next image, we'd see things like this. So this is actually 2 drawings I've done. So I drew the predator first on A4. And then I've done another A4 of the xenomorph with the head missing. So it's a composite. So I thought I've got to try and fit this all onto one image. So you'd see things like this. He'd be slicing xenomorph, running after him and jumping to him. And obviously we'd see acid hit him but run off. It wouldn't burn him, but he'd try and like obviously move his face out the way because his face is still exposed. The metal helmet that he's got exposed is still susceptible to the acid. So he would slash and keep the hood in place. So he'd be doing things like this. So as the xenomorph were trying to chase him, he would get onto this hard ground, and then he would literally bolt towards the gorge. The xenomorph would be catching up to him, and he'd be looking back, and he'd try and just get all of his energy into his run, and he'd eventually find like the bit that sticks out the most, and then just jump off. He'd leap off, but the ground underneath him would crumble at the same time, but only because the xenomorph was right behind him. So as the floor would crumble, the xenomorph would some would jump after him, and then some would just fall with the ground as the predator's in the air. He's trying to jump. So as he's trying to leap, he's got his forks ahead of him, his wrist forks. So he's going to use these to try and reach the other side. So after we've seen this is what I'd see. So he's leaping. In the background, you'd see the water with the skyscraper rocks. So he'd be leaping, and then the xenomorph would be trying to reach him, but they can't. Some would fall due to the crumbling ground, and some wouldn't have the power to leap after him. So he's just about to leap to the wall. So as he would just about make it to the side using his forks to dig into the wall, you'd see the xenomorph not quite make it, and they'd just fall to the death. So there's like rocks underneath, or there's water or something like that. It's quite deep. So you'd see all of these xenomorphs just fall, and then the ones on the other side, as the predator looks over behind him, it's like kind of like in unison. The xenomorph would screech. They would screech almost in unison. Now we would go back to underneath the where the hive is, and you'd hear the faint screeches, and the queen alien that's there would hear this, and she would then unravel herself, step down, her legs would hit the ground, and then instead of like rushing to where the sound is, it's like she kind of like because the wings that she has, they're kind of like really big, so she's having to wade her way through. So you'd see her coming, she's on her way. So you'd know that the queen is now on her way. So we'd go back to the outer trying to climb this wall, and as he's climbing, he's slipping, and as he slips, he loses his arm weapon because as he's trying to claw, he loses his grip because he's very tired, loses his grip, and he drops his weapon, and he looks down and he looks pissed. He's like, because he loves that weapon. It's a really nice weapon. So he's lost that. All he has is these little daggers. So now he's having to use these little daggers to try and claw his way up. So he's making his way up, and eventually he gets to the top, but he's like struggling. And as he gingerly gets back up onto his feet and looks over, he sees all the xenomorph that's just looking up at him. And then all of a sudden, bang, he gets cracked at the back of the head. As he hits the floor, we see, standing above him, that bloody bad blood leader is there again. So he's cracked him over the back of the head. So he's back in it again, and he looks over, and as he does that little smirk, he has a bit of a smirk. And then the next thing we see is him pick him up by his legs and then drag him to what looks like a bad blood ship that's just been sitting there out of view, kind of like surveying everything. Because we know now that they've been there for a while. They've been surveying what's been going on with the xenomorph. They've been wanting them to breed. So drags him into the ship. And the next thing you see is he's being slapped, but he's strapped. So now he's strapped up like the Bad Bloods were at the beginning of this story. So he's strapped up, and he looks in front of him like about 5 or 6 of these Bad Bloods, all looking at him, smirking at him. You know, they're spitting at him and everything. There's no honor between these guys. So he looks up, and then the Bad Blood is there, and he grabs him around the face, and he's face to face with him. And as he looks at him, he goes, "You'll be alive long enough to see Prime fall, and then I will feed you to my pets." So then he turns his head towards a test tube, and it's literally a xenomorph Yautja hybrid. So it's something different to what we've seen in the AVP, but you know it's a hybrid between the two. So they're breeding now. They're just mixing DNA, and then he leaves. So the Bad Blood walks out, he signals to his pilots to let's leave the planet. Let's ready the harvest, because they're going to go and literally pick up as many xenomorph and eggs as possible, because they're going to use them to basically just drop onto Yautja Prime and let all the xenomorph just wipe out the Yautja, wipe them out. So then the Bad Bloods will then just finish up, and then they can claim their Yautja Prime as their own. So during this time, we see like a rumble on the floor outside. So as they're flying over, they're hovering over, and they go over where the xenomorph are. So the xenomorph are like looking up as the ship starts to glide overhead, and then underneath we see like the floor just open up. It just open up, and it's the Queen. The Queen flies up, and her wings are wide. It's like a grand entrance for the Queen. So the Queen the Queen is now flying up above. It's like all in one motion, flies above the ship, and before it even gets detected, it reverse wings and then slams down onto the side of the ship. But this is what I kind of see as I'm going to show you a drawing, not a drawing, it's like a painting. So this isn't mine, but I've kind of done a bit of edit. So you would see this as it flies into the air. So there's the Queen, as you see it fly and hover just above the Bad Blood ship. So now it's there. It's all in all its glory. Its wings are wide. It's like hovering, and then also it will reverse swing and then literally crash onto one side of the ship. Now, as it hits to the one side of the ship, everyone on board is kind of like flown around. The pilots themselves would like fly out the seats and knock themselves unconscious, but almost unconscious. So there's no one controlling the ship now, and the ship looks like over hovering the ground. The one side of the ship is now scraping across the floor, and the Queen is kind of like keeps reverse swinging to keep that side down, as she's now clawing at the ship, at the metal, ripping chunks out. And as she's ripping chunks out, now this is going to be one of my sketches. You see this. So this is my sketch. So as the one side of the floor is scraping across the floor, it's allowing the xenomorph, the drones or the warriors, whatever you want to call them, to get onto the ship, on top of it. But as she's ripping chunks out of the ship, it's leaving chunks big enough for the xenomorph to get in. So because of the crash, it's now broken or weakened the restraints holding the Yautja while everyone else is being thrown around. And now everyone on board is like trying to like see what's going on, and they're crawling their way around as the ship's scraping across the floor, and the Queen keeps jumping on it to bounce it. So everyone on board is being thrown around. And also, these xenomorph are now attacking the Bad Bloods on the ship. So they're ganging up on the Bad Bloods in like 3s and 4s, and they're literally ripping these Predator apart. They're ripping these Yautja apart, these Bad Bloods. And you see it happen. So they're tearing them apart. It's like this is the aliens' time. They're getting their showing. So the aliens on board are like hunting down the Bad Bloods, and we see the Yautja like break free from its restraints. Where am I now? So I got all these papers. So yeah, they're on board, and of course, like some of the Predators are killing some of the aliens on board. But it's like there's so many aliens now that it's like they can't keep up, and they're just overwhelming them. And the Queen's still literally just ripping chunks. Now it goes back to the pilots, and it's the one pilot. It's like he's crawling towards the dashboard, and it just about reaches the one section, and it starts to make the ship go up. So it just about makes the ship before basically the Yautja knocked itself out. So it hits the command to rise. So now the ship's on the rise with the Queen on it, and there's loads of aliens inside as well as on top. So now the ship is starting to rise up, but there's no one to steer the ship. And that means there's no one to hit the the shield. So there's no shield activation, because before the pilot could hit anything else, it kind of like fainted. So now the ship's on the rise. We'd see now the Yautja that we follow make its way to what looks like an armory that's on the ship. But we've seen all these aliens everywhere, and they're ripping Yautja apart, and some of the Yautja are killing the aliens, and gets himself into the armory. And the first thing it picks up is what looks like the wrist bomb. So it's got the wrist nuke. So quickly strips that on, and then finds like a smaller like device, and puts that in like it attaches itself to the wrist, so it kind of sticks out, but it's on there. So we find out what that is in a bit. And then because he knows the ship is rising, he puts on something. It looks like a backpack, but it's not a backpack. It's like a device that you strap on, kind of like a backpack. And there's a button on the front, so it attaches at the front. And before he could grab anything else, a xenomorph tail wraps around the Yautja and pulls him out of the room. So now it jumps. It just jumps. We don't see what happens, but it jumps to outside the ship. And all we see is the Bad Bloods with the same sort of like pack on that the Yautja we've seen put on, tried to leave the ship and jump, but we also see the Queen alien, flying around. It's now flying outside the ship, and it's picking off. It's picking off these Yautja trying to jump out, but we see some of these Bad Bloods literally hit the button on the front, and we see that it kind of opens out the back. It folds out into something like a jet glider. So it's like mini wings with like mini jets on to try and fly away, like glide. They try to glide. So they're not big jets. They're just enough to make them glide away. And we see Xenomorph literally jump off the ship onto the back of some of these escaping Bad Bloods, and they're just ripping apart in midair. So we see then the queen get back onto the ship and then start to rip a hole big enough to get inside herself. So she's managing to get inside. So we cut back and we see the Yautja now like locking up with the xenomorph that dragged him out and just literally just break its neck. It just manages to get behind it and break its neck. So now it's looking around thinking, oh crap, I need to escape this ship. But then we see the ship like literally reaching the heights. It's very high. So there's no protection from space. So it's like, oh crap, everyone could possibly die here that's on board, apart from the aliens. But the Yautja could possibly die because there's no protection. And it's just going up. So it's like the Yautja now has to try and escape the ship before it reaches out like the atmosphere, basically. So as it's making its way to the holes in the ship, it finds the engine room, and then we realise what the device, the small device that it picked up, it's kind of like a mini bomb. So it presses the button, and you see like a little top, like like the little time that you see on the wrist bomb, where it goes. It's like that, but on a little display on this little device, and it kind of like throws it into what looks like the engine room. So he throws that and he tries to escape. And now all of a sudden it's now face to face. As the Yautja turns the corner, it's now face to face with the Queen. And the Predator's like, oh crap. And now tries to run. So the Queen is now giving chase to the Yautja. And it's like, where can I go? So as it turns another corner, this is where I'm going to take idea from Aliens, where Newt is hiding under the grates. But my version is the Yautja jumps up into like a grated ceiling, and it tries to hide there. As the Queen turns the corner, the Predator's not there, and like in Aliens, you see the Queen hunting around and then look up and then start to drag down the grates as the Predator's trying to escape. So we've seen the Queen ripping down the grates as the Predator's trying to crawl along. And then out of nowhere, a door will open in front of the Queen. As the Queen looks down, it's the bloody bad blood leader with its hand over its head as if it's just woken up. And it is now face to face with the Queen. So the bad blood's like, you'll see it translate on screen. Fuck. So it's kind of like a funny moment, but it's like, oh shit. So now the bad blood now turns to run away, and now the Queen is giving chase to the bad blood. So we see that, and then as it's out of shot, the ship outside, we see the ship, and it's almost reaching the heights now. There's not much time, and the Yautja now sees its chance to escape, so it runs towards the big hole in the ship that the Queen has done, and as it's just about to leap outside, there's still Xenomorph on top, waiting for escaping Yautja. So now he can't jump away because it's like we've seen what happens. They're waiting for Yautja to jump off, and they'll just leap after them. So he now has to try and fight his way through. There's probably about 10 or 12 of these Xenomorphs all over the place, fighting off other Yautja. And as he's fighting off, we cut back inside, where now the Queen has now kind of cornered the bad blood. And the bad blood kind of like looks around, turns around, knowing that he's kind of stuck. And he turns around and he just laughs. He laughs and realizes, well, I'm trapped now. What am I supposed to do? So as he opens up his arms and shouts, he's got like double wrist blades. So he opens up his double wrist blades, runs to attack the queen, but the queen uses her wings to like stab outwards and goes through the shoulders of the bad blood, both shoulders, like bang, bang. So it's like, ah. So now his arms are useless. So it cuts back to the Yautja now fending off all of the xenomorph, and it's kind of knackered, and it looks up, and you can see that it's now close. Now it cuts back to inside, and the queen pours in the bad blood in its face as the Yautja laughs, but then the queen with the other arms, because you know it's got more arms than two, with these bottom arms grabs the legs, and now as she grabs the legs, she now pulls apart at the bad blood, basically stretching it out like a starfish, and she uses the inner jaws to then hack away at the joints and the body of the bad blood, like hacking away. We see the bad blood spitting blood and everything else, and like it literally just tears off a leg and tears off an arm. So now it's just being hung up by the one leg and the one arm. And as the queen pulls the face in to deliver that final blow, we see that little device explode, and it blows up the engine room. So now the ship is rocked, and it's exploding from the inside, and the Yautja that's standing on the outside, kind of like the shock makes him stumble. So now he's rolling on the ship, and the explosion just blows up the ship, and there's bits flying everywhere, and a bit of the ship actually hits the Yautja, kind of like almost knocking him out, but we see him, basically the screen goes blank. So when it comes back, when it fades back into shot, it's like all we hear is wind. We hear wind, and as it fades back, it's looking up, and we're looking through the eyes of the Yautja, and he's falling. So he's falling. All this debris is falling down past him, and we see bits of chunk of the ship and whatever's left in the background, and he kind of like shakes himself, and he manages to turn around, looking down. Now he's looking down, but he keeps getting hit by debris. So he's trying to dodge all this debris. So now it's like a free fall. All the ship is beneath him, and it's on fire, and there's debris flying everywhere. It's all dangerous. But then you can hear like a faint screech, and his attention is looking down, but he can't make out what it is. So he's trying to dodge all this debris, and he's wading through. But then something kind of like hits him, and he hits right in front of him, and it's the leftovers of the bad blood Yautja. So the bad blood Yautja is basically dead. It's toasted, and it's got one leg and one arm, but it's all blown apart. So you know it's the bad blood Yautja is dead. So he throws that off, and he looks down, and the screeching is more prominent. So as he dives down, dodging all the debris, this big piece of debris moves out the way, and we see falling, looking up, is what's left of the queen. Now, what's left of the queen is the head, the body. There's like one leg. There's no arms. The wings are singed. There's nothing working, and everything's just in free fall. But she's just screeching to no end, and it's enough to like make you go, "Oh, shut up!" But the Yautja decides to not hit the glider. He looks past down to the floor that's rising, and it's that hollow ground. And he looks back at the Queen, and he decides to skydive down, rush down, and he lands on the Queen. And as he lands on it, he kneels down, and the Queen's like screeching at him and everything else. And the inner jaws try to attack him, and he grabs the inner jaw, rips it out, and it's screeching and everything else. And then also he opens up the wrist bomb and starts setting it. So you hear it going, doing the old. So now he detaches it, and the Queen is screeching. So what does he do? Grabs the Queen round the face and literally rams the bomb into the face of the Queen. Now this kind of makes it stop screeching. So he's made it shut up. And then he sees the ground rushing up, and as it stands up as if it's riding the Queen, it stands up like it's victorious. So we're looking up at the Alchast, all like he's got all of his confidence back. It's standing there looking down, like kind of like a pose. Now it decides to kick off, like jump off while kicking down on the Queen, basically making it fall quicker, with the device stuck in its mouth, with the bomb stuck in its mouth. So it decides to hit the device, and only the wings come out. The jets haven't come out because there's bits of debris that are stuck in the joints. So now it's like he keeps tapping the chest plate to finish off the device to unravel itself. So now it's kind of like in a slow fall but uncontrolled. The Queen is still falling, but the Yautja is like in a slow fall, but it's like spinning out of control. And eventually it will it will unravel itself, and now the jets will come out, and then it will try to get some lift and fly away. And now at this moment, the Queen will hit that fragile floor really, really hard, and you'll see it crash through, and it'll hit straight down to where basically the hive. It's not in the main hive, but it hits into where all the tunnels are. So now it's hit the floor, crashed down, bang. It's basically smashed on the floor. And we'll see the device doing the almost complete. Now, the Yautja is trying to glide and dodge all of the debris. So it's trying to dodge all of the debris as it's trying to get away from the blast that's coming. As we go back into the bottom of the hive, there's a few xenomorphs that crawl up to it, and it sees the Queen all dead. But then their attention will turn to the noise, and then you'll see the device, and it'll go did, and then boom. We see this massive light. Now the Yautja would look kind of down. Now it's evaded the debris, and we'll see that the ground basically lift up off the floor, and it's the shockwave just literally rips through all the hive. You'll see the blast rip through the hive, and it'll rip through all the eggs and the xenomorph that's trying to escape it. So it's ripping everything apart, destroying all this hive, and the Yautja that's trying to escape now, it's being hit by the shockwave. So it's escaped the blast, but it's being hit by the shockwave. So now the shockwave's throwing him around. He's lost all control. Dust is flying everywhere. And again, all of a sudden, it will just cut to like a blackness. And you think, has he escaped? Has he escaped the blast, the shockwave? As we see now, it cuts to the floor, and as the dust is settling, we don't know how long has passed. but we'll see now the Yautja that's kind of like hit the floor, face down, and covered in dust. So you'd have to presume he's been there for a while. And you'd seen like, he'd start jerking, tried to wake himself up. So he would slowly get up, it'd get himself onto his knees, and he'd be huffing and puffing, and he'd be coughing up his own blood because he's just been hit by a shockwave. He's probably hit the floor really hard, and he'll slowly get back up. And as he gets up and looks up ahead of him, also we would now see his escape ship, his rescue ship that's just arrived. They've just arrived, and he'd do something like that, and he'd think that, oh, I've survived. Now, as the ship would kind of like land, not right in front of him, but in the distance, so he would then turn and look behind him, and we would, oh no, wrong way. We would see another. This would be another sketch of mine. This is what we'd see. So this is like a proper like top, almost like landscape view, and it's done a massive crater. So you're talking, how many miles do you want to talk? A lot of miles. So because it was an underground blast, basically the hive has collapsed in on itself. Everything's just wiped away. You see the water again in the background, and this would be the kind of like that shot of like when the dust kind of settles and everything. He's been there for a good amount of time. So there's nothing around him, and also you'd see him now turn back to his ship and kind of like drag himself. Now he's really knackered, so you kind of have to get the Predator vibes of Dutch, where he's standing there like thinking, what the hell have I just been through? So it's a good callback to the first Predator film. You'd see him get onto the ship, and then in the next shot you'd start to see the ship rise, and it starts to fly off. But as we see it from the ground up start to fly off, right? Now, what I've got in mind is, even though we've saw this hive just completely get bombed out and this queen get bombed out, now we know that the Bad Bloods have been visiting this place, and the idea is this isn't the only hive on this planet. Literally, this planet is infested. So the last shot we would see would be this. We would see Xenomorph pop up, look up, and screech, and then it would we'd see the ship fly off, bolt off, and then cut to black. And then you'd see like the AVP survival title, and then the credits. So that's where the ending of this film would be. So you'd think that all the Xenomorph would die, but no, the planet is infested. And we'd see that the Yautja that we followed throughout this whole story has literally survived, got away, and potentially leave it open for them to come back to this planet in a separate story. I mean, the Bad Bloods know of this planet as well. So there you have it. This is the final part. This would be the ending of this concept. So it's a massive set piece of them skydiving. The images I have in my mind of the Yautja skydiving and landing on the broken up queen on the way down. So there you go. This is where I would leave this particular story. So how does everyone like that? So I finally completed the whole AVP survival concept now in 3 live streams. Finally done it. I have not read any of the chat because I've been reading my notes. So if I scroll back up now to everybody, I know there hasn't been that many, but I'm going to welcome Future Boy Kamikaze, my boy, Chris German, Lose Life, Vassi's just coming, Marshmallow. I thank you all for coming in. Even though some of you have come in late, you can double speed this after it's uploaded, and it can give you your own analysis on it. But yeah, finally completed it, and there you go. The whole thing's out there now. The whole story in as much detail as I could probably get it doing a live stream. So instead of writing it down for you to read it, I've now done 3 live streams that people can go back and listen to the whole movie concept. So there you go. And I hope everyone enjoyed my sketches. So if I go back. So there we go. This is what I left you off from the last AVP stream. And this is the him fighting them off. Then you'd see him jumping the gorge, having just enough speed and power to make it to the other side, whereas the xenomorph would just fail. He would get captured by the Bad Blood leader, who's a pain in the ass in this film, but that's his role. He would be on the ship. The Queen would make her way to the surface and land on the Bad Blood ship. So you'd see her fly up like this above the ship and come crashing down onto the one side of the Bad Blood ship, basically rocking it to disorientate everybody. Everyone on board would be rocking and rolling all over the place. You'd see all the xenomorph climbing up onto the side as it's scraping across the floor. The Queen would be ripping up the metal and allowing her underlings to get inside the ship to start tearing apart at the Bad Blood Yautjas. As our Yautja, the one we follow, manages to escape its confines, managed to just about get on enough tech from the armory to then basically escape the ship as it blows up. And yeah, the skydiving onto the Queen that's all busted up and setting the bomb, making it crash through its own hive as the bomb goes off, with the Yautja gliding off to victory. So if I read through some of these comments, I'm going to go back. Chris German, good evening, humans. I'm going to get rid of this now and come back to me. So let's come back to me. I'm going to come on in 3, 2, 1. Woohoo! Me. So I'm going to start. After that now, I'm going to start drinking my chai latte. So there we go. So let's go back through the comments again. Future Boy. Evening, Chris and Luke. Oh, the boys are back in town. That's from Future Boy. Vass is in with friends. Chris, evening, friends. Marshmallow, toot toot. Vassy, beep beep. Anything else? Future Boy, let's put this up. It says, I love the Queen having wings. That's effing amazing. Why hasn't it been done in movies? It's been done in a comic, which is where I kind of pulled that image from, and edited it over the sky and put a bit of blur on it. It's been used in comics, but this is the thing I wanted to have on screen for the first time. You know, because we've seen the aliens before, we've seen the Queens on Floor before, we've seen hybrids, but we've never seen a queen with wings. So I'm like, how could I get that in there? So this is why I had the story of, like, at the beginning, where you see the humanoids at the beginning dragging along what they've captured, which is like a winged beast. So let's get rid of this. They've captured a winged beast and it's all busted up and everything, so they've beaten it. And they throw it down a well and they kind of like use it for food. So it's their own food. Now, these humanoids are kind of like pre-Iron Age. So there's literally no metal on the planet. It's all just rock and stone and mud and dirty water. So, yeah, the winged beast is there. So you kind of guess that, hang on, there's a beast there with wings, and this is an AVP film. So you kind of get straight away, oh, I'd love to see a xenomorph with wings, but no, it's a queen. you see a queen with wings. Going back down. Makes her more of a threat. It does. I've tried to, in this final act, even though she's not in it for long, she does put her stamp on things. So you see her grand entrance with the wings, then she forces herself down onto the ship. She starts tearing away at the ship, using her wings to like flap down to keep the ship from rising back, and literally just tearing apart, like escaping bad bloods. So she's picking them out. She's flying around the ship as these bad bloods are trying to escape. So she's flying around and she's like picking them off, tearing them in half and everything. And then her final thing would be tearing apart the bad blood Yautja before she can kill it. So I've tried to like give her hoorah, make her look really dangerous. So if they did films now with a flying queen, you know, you'd have to make her that dangerous. So I've tried to make her dangerous in this final act. Vassy says sketches are always fire. Thank you. Again, I'll put these up on Twitter after this, so people can you know, save them, or they can paint over them or colour them in. They'll be there. So thank you very much. Chris, cool ideas going on here. Thanks, Chris. You can't beat sketches. I tried to do these sketches. I mean, I'm not very good at doing like ultra detail shading. Shading has never been my thing. It's just like hardline enough to make you see what I see. But you, Chris, you're the one with the skills when it comes to, like, especially when it comes to drawing on computer. You know, I've seen you do your reptile and your baraka on your streams. Very good. I might see if you could like go over a sketch of mine and try to like add your touch to it when it comes to your shading. I'll see if you could possibly do that one day. It'll be a Mortal Kombat character. I'll do a sketch and I'll see if I can send it to you, and then it's up to you if you want to see if you can go over it. Future Boy again, he says the Queen looks so effing amazing good. Effing God. You can't fake those sketches. Hey, I've got all my sketches. I've kept all my sketches, and I've also kept all of my writings. So all these is just from the final bit that I've just done today. I've got loads more. I've got to keep it all. So if someone says, I've copied something, future on down the line, I've got my writing, I've got my streams now. My streams are here. They're here now. So people can't say I've been copying because these videos are timestamped. Vasi, humans. Vasi, I need a cup of tea. Vasi says, that's slightly terrifying having a queen that can fly. Nowhere to hide. Yeah, I really tried to have this flying queen have the big moment in this film where she's literally just tearing the ship apart, capturing the escaping bad bloods that trying to escape through the ship, and try to use their own gliders to glide away. Because the idea I have is that Yautja ship, that bad blood Yautja ship, isn't the only one that's hidden on this planet. There's obviously more. So they're trying to escape to get back onto other ships. It's just that we're following this one. So the Queen's just literally flying around, capturing these bad bloods. And the ones that the Queen don't get in time, you literally see the underling xenomorph jump off like Suicide style and literally jump onto the bad bloods and rip them themselves. So literally there's no bad bloods that can escape. So this is the alien moment of the story, of the movie idea. So they're getting their vengeance on their overseers, you could say. Chris said, does not matter in your case as long as you can get your ideas across. Yeah. So I'm hoping that my sketches are detailed enough for you to get the idea, as well as me explaining. So all that context is there. You'll be able to see what I see. And there you go. Yeah, Vasi. Yeah, Chris is super talented. He's got way more patience than I could ever have when it comes to drawing or painting. I just haven't got that patience. Chris says anytime. I'm guessing that's to do with what I said about a drawing. I'll try and get one done. It won't be yet because I know you're busy on your own. So I'll let you do your own first, and then I'll see if I can talk to you about who I'd want, and we can discuss something. You could do your own stream on it. I don't know if you charge. If you charge, I'll try and throw some shekels your way. Laura's just popped in. You've missed it all. Anyway, goodbye, guys. See you. Bye. Yeah. I don't have the reach to, make sure I get enough people to watch these streams or people to know that these streams are happening. I kind of want to do these streams just to get a few of my stories out there. So instead of them being articles on other people's websites, I thought that I could deliver more detail doing streams, so people have a better understanding of my concepts. So when I did my Riddick X Predator, in an article, it's all right reading through an article, but you lose a lot of detail. But if an article's too long, people start to lose interest. So in the article that I've done on Production H Films, their website where they have a forum, I've kept it short and basic for you to want to be interested in it. Same with my AVP. So I've done quite a few on there. I've kept them short, but interesting enough for you to want to know more. It's like, oh, well, what about this bit? What happens here? What could happen here? I'd like discussions on them. Like I'm having a discussion with someone who wants to know more about my Universal Soldier sequel. There's someone, obviously on articles you can't put details. So this person who I'm replying to thinks that I don't have the detail. It's like, well, I can't put that much detail in an article. People just lose interest. You keep it short and sweet. If people are interested, they can give me questions and say, well, what would happen here? And then I can then explain more. I'd want to do a video on that, but at the minute, I want to talk Mortal Kombat. So after this, I'm going to just do chill streams where I'll just come on and someone could just throw something out and then we just talk about it. Probably be on for about an hour. I'll probably do that every week now. I just want to chill. So it'd be interesting to see who comes on and who will want to come on. Chris says no charge. I don't want to. I know you say no charge, and I appreciate that, but I don't want to just pass on things and then expect people to do them. So I will. Whenever you do that, I will like post out your stream and give you as much exposure as possible. Future boy, Mortal Kombat. It's like you've not. It's like you've just heard. It's like you've been asleep. You heard me mention Mortal Kombat. Like, I hear someone say Mortal Kombat, and then you look at my stream and go, "Oh, Dave said Mortal Kombat." I heard it. I heard it in the ether somewhere. It's this week, bro. I know it's this week, but I don't know if the cinemas are open here. I'm gonna have to check in my local cinema, and if there's any cinemas in my city, Birmingham. I live in Birmingham, England. I will try and see around Birmingham if there's any cinemas open, and I will see if I can make my way to one of them because I don't want to be left behind on release day. So it'd be good to see on the day. So that'll be something else. Now, I probably won't do a stream next week. I'll do one earlier. I'll probably do one Thursday. A chill stream Thursday. Chris said, my local cinema is dead. Thanks, Boris. I know. Well, it's weird because different areas of this city, they have different openings. And it's like, this is opening. And they go to a different area and it's like, no, we're not open. And then you go to another area. It's like, yeah, we're open next week. It's like, why don't we just all open up? But that's a totally different thing. I don't want to get into that. Vasi says, hype. Yeah, there's a lot of hype through this film. Even though I've kind of been spoiled a bit, I still want to see how things play out. I want to feel the atmosphere. I want to feel what this film... I want to feel what this film feels like. So I'll be ready for that. Future Boy says, trust me, Vasi, Friday. Friday. Mortal Kombat! Laura says, I think it's still the 17th of May. I think that's in... Is that here? Because... all I'm getting is the 23rd of April thrown at me all the time. I don't know when the actual release date here is, but I mean, the only date it's been tossed at is the 23rd. But if it's the 17th of May, that's I don't think I can wait that long to watch it in cinema. I might have to do something very, very naughty. But that's not going to stop me from going to the cinema on release day and watching it a bunch of times. You know, I'm putting my money towards it. We all want sequels. We all want spin-offs. But anyway, before the hour finishes, back to this AVP concept. So for those that have been here and survived survived my chat and going over the concept. Overall, if you can give it out of 10, what would you give this overall concept? Would this be something that would get you into the cinema to watch, knowing that the Alien franchise as well as the Predator franchise has kind of dwindled over the years? And I think that the AVP franchise, especially the movie franchise, needs something new and fresh to get people to want to watch it again and get interested. You know, because I mean, the last film, okay, the kills were good, but it was the tone was too dark. Some of the acting was a bit poor, and it left a bad taste because it just seemed that whatever was done in that third part of the film was left mute because it was all just going to get blown up anyway. You know, it's like in every single film, it's like a predator has to die. Every single film. So hopefully in this concept, we follow a predator and it survives. Yep, a flying queen alien. Yeah. How cool would it be to finally see something like that on screen? It'd be cool to see that on screen, wouldn't it? So there you go. So just hit the hour mark. Well, an hour and 2 minutes. So I'm still waiting on people's feedback. It was overall, is this AVP concept something that would make you want to go and see it at the cinema? Do you reckon it's cinema worthy? You know, because the last AVP film left a bitter taste, and then you've got the last Predator film, which definitely left you eating glass, and then you got the two Alien prequels, spin-offs, Prometheus and Covenant, which I don't personally like. I mean, if they're on, I'd watch them because, you know, I like Alien. I like the Alien. I'm a fan of the Alien. But the reason why they were made is because Ridley Scott didn't like the idea of the Alien franchise merging with the Predator franchise, and he just wanted a way to have them split and have the Alien be its own universe away from anything related to Predator at all, in any sort of way. So he decided to have David, the android, create the xenomorph. You know, he's gone through all this research throughout the years, and he's come up with the perfect organism. And, you know, it just seems funny that they'd show that humans made the androids and the androids made the xenomorph. I don't like that. Vassie says, yes, that she would like to see it in the cinema. Thank you very much. Future Boy, solid 9. Thank you very much. Lovely. I'll be taking you with me to the cinema if it ever gets made. The Vassie says the human element is now ruining the movies. Yes, this is another thing that this whole concept embodies, and it's the fact that there's no human beings, no humans whatsoever. There's humanoids, but they're not human. They're not us. There's no humans whatsoever. Hardly any dialogue. Just the little bits that are translated, which is enough. Just that little bit to get you to realise what's going on. and the action forces the story. You don't need much else. Whoever goes through all these three streams after will it'll click. It'll be like, well, there's no need for dialogue or anything like that. There's no need because it's all on screen for you to see. It's all there. That little twist of the Bad Bloods using this whole tucked away planet as a breeding ground. You see that play out on screen. You realise why the Bad Bloods wanted to escape there after they escaped their confines before they were transported to Yalta Prime. So you have that little twist there, and it's only a little twist. It's not it's not Oscar-worthy twist. It's not, it's not going to win any prizes. But this is a story that brings in the Bad Bloods, their vile plan to take over Yalta Prime. You have the no human element, and then you've got a bloody flying queen xenomorph that's just tearing Yalta apart. And it's like, for an AVP concept, you just want to see aliens and predators going at it. And in this third act, this final act, you see that happen. You see the aliens and the predators tearing each other apart. So it's a concept that I would like to see on screen. Apart from people saying, "Well, we want more Marines," it's like, it's done before. You don't need more Marines. I mean, you've got games out there and that try to play to the Marine element, and they're not very good. You want something new and fresh, but interesting. I know sometimes people say, we don't want to do it for the new and fresh sake. It's like, yeah, but is it interesting? Are you interested to see a concept of aliens and predators where there's no humans? Are you interested in that concept? And I reckon it would pique interest. And people want to know, well, how is this going to play out on screen if there's no dialogue and there's no human element for you to follow? But it's like, you've already got kind of like a humanoid-esque character in the Predator anyway, and the Predator would express itself physically through facial expression, and you just want to see these characters on screen in a story that's easy to follow, that you don't need much dialogue, but whatever translated dialogue is there, it's more than enough to get the point over, get the story over. There's going to be no full-blown conversations. I can't see the Predators having conversation. Fancy a pint? Nah, the missus is keeping me in tonight. I got my kid to look after. Oh, no, none of them type of conversations. So there you go. Let's have a look here. What does Vasi? Vasi says, if they can't add anything, minimalize, remove them at this point. The humans, yeah. they don't need to be there. It's like, at the beginning, on the first stream, I said that this concept is one of a possible, like, thousands, hundreds of thousands of times where, the aliens and the predators have crossed paths. This is just one path. This is just one crossing. But it just so happens that this concept actually brings in the Bad Bloods, and they're kind of like the overall bad guys, that third element. So you've got the aliens, you've got the predators, but then now you've got like that third element that it's not been explored in films yet, the Bad Bloods. Get them in there. Let's see what they're like. They've been in comics before, but they've never been played out on screen. Now, you've had the movie Predators, where they've had the like the wolf version of the Yautja, the different type of upper species. I reckon they should have just had them bad bloods. I reckon they should have, instead of having them a subspecies of the Yautja, they should have had them be bad bloods, because then that would have been a good way to introduce them into the universe. But they didn't do that route. They tried to add too many new things and make another upper class of Yautja, which kind of minimalizes the Yautja that we know anyway. So you think, so now, because of that film, even though it's a good film, you know, it's one of the better Predator films, that upper species has now made the normal Yautja species kind of like weaker. So when we now see them, we don't see them as much as a threat, because we know there's something worse. We now know that there's a subspecies that is bigger and stronger than them. So they're not. So we look at the Yautja now and think, well, you're not that much of a threat compared to what we've seen now. So I didn't like that element in Predators. They should have made them bad bloods. Make them the same species, but more vicious, less honoured. Chris said, it's something deaf that would catch the fans' attention, especially fans from crossover films. Personally, I've always been one for the other. As for the Alien prequels, really dropped the ball. He did it for, there's a reason why he did it, and I said that, is because he didn't like the fact that the Aliens and the Predator franchises were connected in some way. And he tried to come up with a story that basically just ripped that universe apart and kept the Aliens its own franchise away from AVP as well as the Predators franchise. So basically, he tried to set himself apart, and the Alien franchise, from his perspective, bears no essence of crossover in anything at all. That's why he did it. And they're not very good stories anyway. Chris again. The idea with the planet's function as a breeding ground by the Bad Bloods is certainly something I'd find appealing. Yeah, that's how I did it. You can imagine a whole planet that's just infested with xenomorph. But it's like, I tried to weave in a story of these elements, and like, why would they do it? Why this planet? How can I get the aliens involved? So many years ago, when I was developing this story, it's like I had all these elements, and I thought, well, I need to fill in these gaps plausibly to get them all in. So I needed, I definitely wanted the flying queen in there. That was one of my first elements. It's like, how can I get the queen out? The flying queen in there. So it's like, well, you need something winged to be face hugged, to be impregnated. So it's like, well, now I need to set this on a planet where there's winged beasts. But because the other element that I wanted in there was no humans, this planet had to have humanoids where there's winged beasts and there's no metal. And I'm like, well, okay, how could I get the facehuggers onto this planet? So then I'll come up with the idea of they were being used by predators who's captured facehuggers and now breeding xenomorph. But it's like the honoring element of the predators wouldn't do anything like that. They'd keep them, but they'd study them, but I don't think they'd use them and openly experiment on them on another planet. They wouldn't want the they wouldn't want the xenomorph out of control. So I thought, well, what a good way to bring in the Bad Bloods and let them do it. Let the Bad Bloods use this whole planet as a breeding ground to then use the xenomorph as their own weapon against the Ultra Prime, where they're not allowed back anymore, and the Bad Bloods are constantly being hunted as Dishonored. Well, it's so all these elements come together, and I come up with this concept, and obviously I like it. There's things that could be changed, altered, if needed, and it'd be nice for one day for someone who has more knowledge than me about the Alien and Predator franchise to wade through it and see what they like, what they don't like. Bassi says, I'd be perfectly happy not hearing any dialogue for the movie. Then I could pick apart the crappy lines like we saw in the Shane Black joke. There's elements in The Predator that I liked. Now, when I come up with this concept, I actually did come up with on-screen translation of the Yautja to push the story forward. So when I saw it in The Predator, I was like, no. I thought, oh my God, it's in my story and they've used it. But then I thought, it works. It actually works. Using on-screen translation of sentences being used by Yautja actually works. So I knew I was safe having that in my story. So I thought, okay, that works. And then the other elements that I kind of used from The Predator in my concepts was the use of the space rip. I'm going to call it a space rip. I don't know the official name. I'm going to call it a space rip. Okay, so there you go. Hashtag space rip. It's not a fart in space, all right? It's a space rip where they fire this device into space, and it opens up a rip in the universe to go from one part of the universe to another. There you go, I've explained it. Whereas what I had in my story before was it was more of like a warp. That was my thing. It was more of a warp. So I thought, okay, I could swap that out after watching The Predator. So I've got to thank The Predator for that element, for swapping out the warp for the space rip. But yeah, the dialogue kind of works. I mean, I didn't mind the dialogue in The Predator because it pushed the story on a bit onto why what was the Predator hiding? Why was he escaping with this thing? So for me, it kind of worked in that moment. What Chris said here. I know he borrowed from the Chariots of Gods book and had two writers over to the screenplay. The idea of the most mysterious creatures was created by a faulty robot from Earth. I don't read books. I'm just going to go with what you said. So there we go. So now I've finally finished it, and I'm hoping that now, if people want fresh ideas of an AVP movie or something for like streaming, or even if someone wants to write a book with a fresh idea or do comics, hopefully they'll come across these three parts and they could use this. Just as long as they credit me with the story, the overall story. It would be nice. It'd be nice for someone out there to actually bring this to life in any sort of media fashion. So there we go. I'm gonna point to now before I shoot. Does anyone have any questions regarding this? Because now it's finished. I've finished the concept. If no one has any questions, I will now start to close off. I'll be putting my sketches on Twitter. I'll be tagging AVP, Aliens versus Predator Survival, AVPS, for people to, like, you know, they can pull them off and do their own little thing. So let's get this noticed somehow. Vasi says she has no questions. It was awesome to hear your concepts. Thank you, Vasi. You've been here since the first one. Also, Vasi says, and also seeing the art. Thank you very much. So most of these I've done at work. You're not supposed to be drawing at work. But as I'm on the machine, I'll do a little bit, then do my work. Then I've got a little bit of time, then I'll do a bit more. Then I'll go back, do a bit more. Chris German, excellent stream. A joy as always. Thanks, Chris. When are you doing yours? When's your next stream? I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting for your reply. Oh, my chai's gone cold. Future Boy, have you thought about doing one about Danny Glover and Arnold? Would be awesome, fantastic work, man. Thank you very much. That's up to them. I want to do something new that didn't have any elements from the other films, apart from a few callbacks. But I wanted something different and fresh, because people will always use kind of like elements from the past films, or try to bring in old actors. I wanted to do something completely different, something like away from everything else we've seen. Just, even though people say, oh, if it's too fresh or too different, people will detach from it, and sometimes that is the case. But I'm hoping that this sort of concept would be enough to have that interest for people to want to see it. Like, it's like, well, how would that work? How would this work? I'm interested. I've got to see how it works. And people would just, it's like, you could say it's a 2-hour film. So say 2 hours of just seeing a predator trying to survive, xenomorph, but basically a planet full of xenomorph. You want to find out why this planet is full of xenomorph, why the bad blood's messing around, and you're also following a predator, a Yautja, that's got no tech, out of his element, no confidence, and discovering along the way, basically gaining his confidence back, as well as finding like rock that he could defend himself, like shards that he can defend himself with, that doesn't melt from the acid blood, as well as the cloth that was made by humanoids on this planet that they were wearing, that has a tolerance to the acid for blood. So it also gives off a different look to the predator that we've seen, where he's got all of his tech, his blades hanging out everywhere. You got the mask that's prominent. You got it's dreadlock type of hair that's flowing everywhere. It's a different look. So everything about this is different, while trying to tell a story through action, which is what I was going for. And to me, it works. To me, it works because I can see all play out in the mind. So it'd be good to get other perspectives from others to say, okay, it could work without dialogue, and it could work without humans. There's enough action there for you to go, yeah, there's a lot of, it showcases the alien as well as showcases the predator. And the story's just not a simple, oh, he's going to survive, he's just got to wait for pickup. No, he's got to find confidence, he's got to escape, but he's being chased by xenomorph, and there's xenomorph everywhere, and you got this bad blood who's just a pain in the ass. Bassy says, I'll be there. I'm everywhere. Is she behind me? She's behind me, isn't she? Like that. Like that. Chris says, to my question about when he's going to do a drawing next, his next stream next week, probably. Bracket almost done. Nice. Have you decided on how you're going to do his blades yet? Are you going to be doing your own take, or are you going to take on my take? Future Boy says, that's why this would be amazing. It's fresh, new, and it's unpredictable. An unpredictable story. You don't know if he's going to win or lose because he's out of his own comfort and is so cool. I love the vibe. Again, people are going to be expecting the Predator to die, as he always has done. And just like my Riddick ex-Predator story, I didn't want the Predator to die because they always die. Do something different. Actually have the Predator live. So that's something that's 100% different on its own. And do you think everyone would be happy for once to actually and be relieved that finally a surviving Yautja? I'd probably get a standing ovation just for that alone. Yes, he survived. The story's kind of crap, but he survived. Planet of Xenomorph. Yeah, but they wasn't before, so basically it's a breeding ground. Which is different to, again, in my last stream, there was a comic. I don't read comics, but I was told about a comic where a Predator was on a Xenomorph. It could be a homeworld. And again, he was there. Now, my story is like going over like a day or two. Whereas the comic goes over like weeks, months, or years. I forgot what I was told. But the Yautja in that already has all of his tech. So he, the only element is surviving hordes. Whereas in my story, he's stripped of all of that, which would, he has to learn to have the instinct again. They have to learn the primal instincts of not relying on tech. So I've put the Predator in a totally different situation to what we've seen and what we know. And he has to gain that confidence back. You see him throughout the story, the way I see it in my mind, where he slowly gains confidence throughout, where he's got no blades, but he finds the shard, and because he fights off face huggers, he looks after digging one. He stabs one through, looks at it, and sees the blood dripping off. But then you see that the acid for blood has no effect on the rock. So he looks at that and goes, okay, I can use this. Slowly getting his confidence back. Then he discovers the cloth that the humanoids were wearing also has a resistance to acid for blood. So there's something on this planet that is acid resistant. So it just brings in a new element to the lore that could be used in future stories. There's something on this planet that's acid resistant. Chris says to my Baraka blades, splinters of some sort. Yeah, glad to be of help. So there we go. I think I'm done now, so I'm going to let everyone go because it's been an hour and a half. And I'm glad for everyone that's been here to actually, listen to me, listen to my concept. Hopefully it's been interesting enough for you to, one day, if you hear of an AVP film, you will instantly think, well, Dave did that. Dave did one. and you could like push this forward. You know, this story, this concept could be pushed. So I want to thank everyone for you know, sticking with it and actually having the time, spending your time to listen to me, however bad I am, and you know, actually know and see what I see in terms of my drawings and my details. So I want to thank everybody for watching and keeping up. And hopefully in a couple of days, I'll just do a chill stream and everyone could just throw questions or come on. It's up to them. So I'm going to let everyone go now. So I'm going to thank everyone for coming. So again, thank you, Future Boy, Chris, Vasi, Marshmallow. Who else was on? Was there someone else? Lose Life, he come on. Laura, thank you for coming on. I'm sure there was others. The girlfriend was watching. She's always watching. I'm going to thank her for watching as well. I've got to. she'll beat me up. She'll beat me up if I don't thank her. I shouldn't be saying that. So, but yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Hopefully, I'll see you on my next stream in a couple of days. Just a chill stream. Talk Mortal Kombat. Or whatever you like, as long as it's not too saucy. Hey, Vasi? Yeah, you and your getting the spice, bring in the spice. So thanks everyone for coming. Great, thank you very much. Your view is mine. Thank you, everybody. Good night. See you soon. Bye bye.